Before we start this video off, I just want to say thank you so much for the tremendous amount of support for the latest video about Counter-Strike for the Xbox. Not only is that video almost halfway to 4,000 views, but we broke quite an amazing number nevertheless. 200 subscribers. It's quite an honor to continue having the motivation to make videos that I enjoy making. Even if you'll click off this video from being bored. But I also want to say sorry for the short-term absence as well. It's been a bit of a week, but hey, I'm back. We're making videos, and you'll see more videos as well. I'll save the sappy stuff at the end of the video. Thank you so much, you guys. Greetings to you all. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Today, not only are we going to go back to our old friend, the original Xbox, but we're going to be looking at another specific port from a game company that has basically been my entire childhood. For the record, I didn't really grow up with the original Xbox nor the 360, but I still love these two consoles because I'm an avid part-time collector and an enjoyer of the Xbox games from the past. I mostly grew up playing Valve games on the family computer, whether it was Counter-Strike Source, Garry's Mod, or even a little bit of Team Fortress 2. I sucked at the last game the most, and when I wasn't playing those games on the family computer, I was playing on the PS3. However, there is a consistent theme with how Valve publishes their most successful titles. That has to be the fact that the Valve games are usually published on the PC platform the most, Windows or Linux being the main focus a lot of the time. Yes, I know that Mac OS does exist, but Windows and Linux are usually the more better ports to really publish your games. A console port was mostly an afterthought, but they still sought to optimize their games for the easier platform to work with, just to make decent controls, and yeah, that's how it really was going to be. A game that took part in shaping a generation has to be a lot of the Valve games. They're really famous for being consistent with their releases. Back then, they had games going around left and right. You had Day of Defeat, Team Fortress Classic, Counter-Strike 1.6, and the one that resonates with a lot of people just as much has to be Half-Life. Half-Life is responsible for shaping the PC market, and while console ports were just bound to cross Valve's direction, Doom ports were all over the place as well, porting it to a lot of platforms in particular. I know that Doom isn't made by Valve, but it's just an example that I really wanted to use because, oh my god, how many ports can you possibly have? And that's really how Doom had the reputation of, can it be run on anything? Can it be run on something that was not designed to run Doom in the first place? However, we are looking at a different game today, and that would be Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is a game that defined the 2000s rightfully so, along with other games. Don't worry, I know Halo and 1.6 made your generation too. However, in this case, I love ports of my favorite games, experiencing them the way they weren't originally meant to be. I find it beautiful, actually, as you can clearly tell. Half-Life 2 was an anticipated game for the market, and a lot of people were hyped to play as their friendly neighborhood Black Mesa scientists, getting rid of aliens and soldiers alike. Half-Life 2 was so good that it continued the story in 2 more episodes, and having a much more fleshed out story compared to the first one. Even though it did start everything up, and it really does have an interesting story, even for a game that was made technically in 1999. And it was in a time where video game stories weren't really such a heavily scrutinized thing until graphics became better and better, allowing writers to let their stories unfold in a clearer vision. Half-Life 2 was released in 2004, and to be perfectly honest, this game engine really is impressive. If you were to play Half-Life 2 or Counter-Strike Source now, you'd be surprised at how well the games have aged over time. Yes, they're not really graphical works of art like Crysis, and that also has a reputation of can it be run? Can it be run on a smooth frame rate at least? But they really are great games. It doesn't really matter how much graphical fidelity you have. Do you have a fun game? That is the biggest question that you need to focus on if you are a game developer. So an influential game like Half-Life 2 had to have some sort of console port, because deep down, if you didn't have a PC back then and you really wanted to experience one of the most influential games on the market, well, you also had the choice to play Half-Life 2 at a whatever frame rate on the original Xbox. So after telling you a little bit of Half-Life 2, what does the Xbox version even look like? Well, it looks a little something like this. As a quick disclaimer, I'm running this game on Zemu, so it may not be one-to-one with how it was originally supposed to be experienced, but it's a general idea. I'm running this at 1x resolution, which is the native resolution that the Xbox would have outputted according to my observation at least. Obviously, for the year 2005, and for a console that was released in 2001, they had to dumb down the graphical fidelity of the game in order for it to be a little optimized, and so it wouldn't stutter all over the place. However, a 2001 console can only do so much. and so it really couldn't escape the oh great monster that terrorizes everybody's gaming experience: lag, especially at this muddy resolution. Yet if you had a CRT TV, a lot of the bad resolution would just be nothing anyways, because you have a TV that can't even highly define the graphical output but still having a good refresh rate. I only have so much knowledge regarding to the technology that I'm somewhat familiar with, of course. It would only be more apparent on screens later in time. So if you were experiencing this game on the OG Xbox, I'd probably say that you got yourself a decent deal. However, if you were an Omega nerd with Half-Life and you saw how intensely dumbed down the textures were, you probably won't be too happy. The game in itself is pretty laggy. However, that can be a fault of either Zemu, my machine, or the fact that this game was probably not meant to run too smoothly for the OG Xbox. However, it's all down to your personal experience and how you experience said game. From an aspect of controls, well, you're working with a controller, and to be perfectly honest, it's pretty decent for what it is. It's up to the developers to really figure out how they can fit their originally PC game onto a control scheme for a slightly dumbed down electronic box, the Xbox. Having to select multiple weapons in your arsenal with the D-pad really does make a lot of sense, and thank God they did that in the first place. I also want to include the fact that the sound in this game has a lot of added atmosphere and it has a lot better reverb, so you really are immersed into the game. So if the bad textures and, well, the lag didn't really set you off, well, hey, at least you have the sound, which can be a little bit interrupted by said lag, so it's not exactly a perfect experience. Other YouTubers have really explained the sound a lot better in detail, so I can't really say how good it is. So what have we learned, ladies and gents? That this port of a PC game is slightly dumbed down in terms of graphical presentation and fidelity. It has some lag issues during some bigger events, and the only way you can really experience this is if you have an Xbox or an emulator. The first choice being a bit problematic due to the fact that the Xbox has a time limit. Nothing is truly unlimited. That's just how it is with all forms of technology. The more you use it, the more it's bound to fail eventually. And that's completely okay. If you don't really take care of your system as well, it won't even last as long. So what? What is the conclusion? Well, just play the goddamn game on your PC. A lot of people have access to PCs more than ever, and the freaking game came out in 2004. Just dumb down the graphics a little bit. It's not even that hard. The Xbox port already did that in the first place, and it's even hard-coded into it. Well, it's not hard-coded, but it's designed to make it look like that. By the way, I'm not saying that everybody in the world has a PC, but a lot of people do have access either way. Steam is free to download, and well, you could just play this game smoothly on a decently modern office computer. The thing I'd recommend to do as well is to lower the graphics a little bit to medium settings, at least if you don't have a GPU and a different PSU, so that way the game doesn't look like complete garbage, but that way you at least have a somewhat more smoother experience. But hey, that's gonna have to do it for today's video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if you want to see more classic games being talked about and whatnot. If you guys did truly enjoy this video, give me a subscribe and a like, and you'll see more video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.